When you hear the name Ilvo, you think of harmony, passion, and the kind of music that cuts across generations. 3 Italian voices, blending into one sound that feels almost too good to be true. Gianluca, the velvet crooner who sounds like a love letter in every note. Ignazio, the firecracker with a voice so flexible it can move from playful pop to the most emotional operatic high. And Piero, the powerhouse tenor, rooted in discipline and tradition, carrying the seriousness of Italian opera on his shoulders. Together, they're a phenomenon. But what fans didn't see was that at one point, Ilvo almost broke apart. Yes, you heard that right. Behind the lights, the ovations, and the global fame, there was a crack. And today, we're diving into that secret. What really happened, how close they came to splitting, and why they're stronger now than ever before. Let's roll back time. Picture 3 teenagers in Italy, each on his own path. Gianluca was the quiet one, often found singing love songs in small competitions, with a maturity in his voice that shocked judges. Ignazio was the joker, always laughing, but behind the fun was a gift. His voice had range, strength, and warmth. Piero was different. Serious, focused, dreaming of opera stages. Fate brought them together on a talent show, and a producer thought, why not put these 3 voices into one group? First, it sounded risky. They were so different. Personalities, voices, even their visions of music. But then they sang together and magic was born. The audience was stunned. 3 kids sounding like seasoned stars. Overnight, Ilvo was created. The rise was meteoric. Imagine being barely a teenager and suddenly traveling the world, recording albums, standing on massive stages with thousands screaming your name. First, it was thrilling. New countries, luxury hotels, cameras flashing. They were kids living a dream. But here's the thing no one tells you. Dreams come with shadows. Fame brings pressure. And pressure, if not managed, brings conflict. The first cracks appeared during tours. Imagine waking up in a new city every morning, doing interviews in languages that aren't your own, rehearsing, performing, traveling non-stop. For weeks, months. On stage, the boys smiled and delivered perfect harmonies. But off stage, they were exhausted. Gianluca, being sensitive, often pulled back, isolating himself to recharge. Ignazio tried to keep spirits up with jokes, but sometimes, the laughter clashed with Piero's seriousness. Piero, focused on perfection, often pushed harder. Rehearse more, fix mistakes, aim higher. It wasn't wrong, but it created friction. And then came the question of musical direction. Gianluca loved modern romantic ballads, wanting Ilvo to appeal to younger fans. Ignazio wanted freedom, fun, experimenting with styles that broke the mold. Piero insisted on tradition, opera, discipline, staying true to the classics. 3 visions, 1 group. Arguments broke out during studio sessions. Which songs should make the album? Who should take the solos? Should they perform more pop or stick with operatic roots? First, they tried to compromise. But over time, the disagreements deepened. The biggest storm hit before one of their grandest concerts. Backstage, after weeks of bottled frustration, everything exploded. Harsh words, accusations, the kind that hurt because they came from brothers, not strangers. For the first time, the idea of Ilvo splitting didn't feel like a nightmare. It felt real. Imagine that. A sold-out arena, fans waiting, lights ready, and the group on the edge of collapse. But destiny had other plans. Walking on stage, still heavy with anger, they heard the roar of the crowd. Thousands of fans chanting, holding banners, crying with excitement. As they sang the first notes, something shifted. Their voices blended, and suddenly the fight seemed small compared to what they had built. The fans reminded them of why they started. By the end of the concert, Something unspoken passed between them. They knew they couldn't throw this away. After that show, they sat down and had the most honest conversation of their lives. Gianluca admitted he often felt sidelined, that his softer style wasn't always respected. Ignazio confessed that his laughter often hid stress and fear. Piero revealed his deepest worry, that without discipline, they disappoint their fans and lose everything. Tears were shed, truths were spoken, and for the first time, they saw each other not as rivals but as brothers. That night they made a pact. Ilvo would not split. Instead, they would embrace their differences. Gianluca would bring the soul, Ignazio the spark, Piero the structure. Together, those three elements created the magic only Ilvo could deliver. Fans never knew how close they came to losing the trio. They saw the smiles, the awards, the standing ovations. But behind it all was a fragile brotherhood that had to be rebuilt. And it was rebuilt, stronger than before. You can see it today in their performances. The way they look at each other on stage, the playful teasing in interviews, the respect when one takes a solo. That's not just showmanship. That's survival. Now think about this. So many groups never survive these storms. Look at One Direction, huge but tensions broke them apart. Il Divo faced challenges and lineup changes. Countless boy bands and vocal groups burned out under pressure. But Ilvo, they stood on the edge and chose to hold on. That's why fans love them even more. Their music isn't just beautiful. It's proof of resilience. And here's the part fans adore, the families. Each of the boys' parents sacrificed so much to let them chase their dreams. Long trips, living away from home, missing out on normal teenage life. Their families became anchors. In interviews, Ilvo often credits their parents for keeping them grounded. Without that foundation, the split might have actually happened. Fast forward to now, Ilvo stands not just as a group, but as a symbol. They proved that brotherhood, respect, and love for music can overcome even the darkest moments. Every note they sing is backed by that history. And fans feel it. When Gianluca hits those soft romantic lines, when Ignazio belts out a playful high, when Piero delivers a powerful operatic note, it's not just sound. It's a story of three different men who once almost walked away, choosing instead to stand together. So yes, the secret is out. Ilvo almost split. But that near ending became their greatest strength. It forced them to grow, to mature, to see that their differences weren't weaknesses but gifts. And that's why today, more than a decade into their journey, Ilvo isn't just surviving, they're thriving. Selling out tours, topping charts, and winning hearts. For fans, that knowledge makes every performance even more emotional. Because behind the harmonies, there's a truth. These voices almost went silent together. But they didn't. They stayed. And that's why Ilvo's story will always stand out. Not just as singers, but as brothers who chose music, love, and unity over pride. Now over to you, what do you think, fam? Did you ever notice those moments of tension on stage? Or were you like most fans, believing everything was always perfect? Drop your thoughts, because this is one story that shows us fame isn't always glitter. Sometimes it's a fight. And Ilvo fought and won.